well, it brings back some sad memories. But that was one of the, I guess, most frightening. Well, I don't know really how to explain it. You were so scared you wasn't scared. You know what I mean? This big old Marine sergeant come out there and said, all you boys that want to go in the Marine Corps would like to go in the Marine Corps, step forward. So I kind of thought about it, and one of the boys, there were some more boys from here, a guy by the name of Trigg from Hector, and another boy by the name of Limley from Russellville. They said, why don't we just go in the Marine Corps? We won't have to get in the Navy. So maybe we have a better deal. Of course, we didn't know what we was getting into. But anyway, we decided to go in the Marine Corps, and that was a mistake. That first week was rough. Being an old country boy, it was hard. And them Marine sergeants, the TI, we had a corporal. Corporal Duval was his name, and he was tough, but he had to be tough. I mean, man, people come out of these hills up here in Arkansas, and we just green as grass, and we didn't know nothing about military life. Well, first landing at Saipan, yeah, that was real scary. Of course, we went in. Of course, the earlier what they call a forward echelon had already went in and had established beachhead and everything. But a lot of the bodies, Japanese soldiers and American Marines were still laying there on the beach. They hadn't picked them up yet. And I forget, they lost, I read the story, but it was in the thousands. We had one company, K Company, in one of the battalions. They got ambushed, and I think there was like 240 people in the company, and there wasn't but 8 of them left alive. I mean, they really got wiped out. We had one LCVP was coming in, and a Japanese mortar hit it, direct hit, and it killed 27 Marines, just one deal like that. The Japanese tanks, they destroyed them real quick, because they come down there and we had those, they just come out with that new bazooka, one you put on your shoulder and fire, boy, it just knocked them tanks out just right and left. So our main thing from the Japanese was their mortars, 60, what we call 60 and 90 millimeter mortars, and you could hear them coming. You know, and when they'd let that thing off, you could hear they made a kind of a funny whistling noise. And of course, when you heard that thing, you dive for that foxhole and get down as far deep in there as you could. And of course, we had lots of people. I never will forget one morning. We could hear these Japanese soldiers all night long. They were just jabbing up a storm. Well, what they do is they get all drunked up on that sake, and then they'd pull one of them bonsai attacks. Of course, we'd be. They learned, the Marines had learned this on Guadalcanal and Tarawa, and some of the other islands. And what they do, the Japanese just line up and they just come in, just big swarm of them. Well, what they do, we had these, what they call these barbed wire entanglement deals we fixed, you know, along the perimeter. Well, what they do, they'd get a bunch of these Japanese soldiers running up there, and they'd just throw themselves up on top of that wire. Well, what they do, we had them 50 caliber machine guns and 30 caliber machine guns lined up there, and they were just mowing them down, just like, I mean, they just mow them down. They just be piled up on one another, laying out there. And they just loaded them prisoners on there from the Bataan March in the Philippines, and you never seen such a horrible bunch of people in your life. They wasn't nothing but walking skeletons. And they'd run up to you, and they'd want just to give them something to eat and give them candy, and that nurse come over, and I remember her real well, and she was a captain. She said, don't give them nothing to eat. She said, we can't even feed them very much. She said, if we do, they'll go into shock. They had these caves where they put them in there, and of course we had come out with the flamethrowers, and we had a lot of Marines that walk up to these caves and stuff, and it was very dangerous. And so our commanding officer said no Marines will walk up to these caves anymore or try to get in them but before we try to flush them out with the flamethrower. And it was one of the sickening sights I ever seen. They went up there and we mounted them, rigged them flamethrowers. We had tanks rigged up where they could shoot it, right, and they could drive right. If the Japs were in there, and they probably started shooting at the tank, but they wouldn't do no good. They just go up there and they'd stick that barrel at maybe 30 or 40 feet back from the hole, and they just a couple blasts of fire in there, and then they could go in there and there was there's a woman sitting there standing there, and she's got a baby in her arms like that, and she just cried. It's horrible, horrible. It was really bad. It took me a long time to get over that. Well, when I first come home, I was pretty in a form of shell shock. I come home in July, and that's in the summertime when you have thunderstorms and everything. And boy, I tell you what, every time a clap of thunder or lightning go off, it pop. It was just nature or automatic. I'd just hit the floor because I was still thinking about these mortar shells coming in. But it took a while. It took quite a while before it really. Of course, as soon as I got home, I got myself organized and got me a job, and pretty well. I got on alcohol there pretty bad there for a while, about 2 or 3 years there. I hit the alcohol bottle pretty hard. Well, no, we really didn't know, and of course there was a lot of other people who didn't know what the atomic bomb was going to do. You know, when Enola Gay dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, and that thing went off, and Mr. Tibbets looked at the rest of the crew and he said, "Oh God, what in the world did we do?" See, they didn't have no idea, and it was horrible. And boy, I hope they never drop another one. That's all I got to say. But if they hadn't have dropped them bombs, I would say, just in my personal opinion, I don't think I would be here talking to you guys today. I think I would have got killed. My unit was to land at Kyoshi, Japan, at 0700 on the 5th day of November, 1946, and that would have been a bloody, bloody battle, I am sure.